I'm going to be taking a look at a video called Terraformars Revenge, How to Ruin a Series. I have never seen Terraformers, but I know it's about cockroaches, which I don't have cockroaches. I have a bed bug problem, so uh, let's see this video. Okay, let's go. Oh, the link will be in the description below. Yeah, these bed bugs are killing me, man. So I don't got no time to watch anime about no cockroaches, cause bed bugs are killing me. So come on, man.
Don't you just hate it when a show you like has a second season and it turns out almost entirely different from the original? And when I say that, I don't just mean going from absolutely exceptional to still good but just less so, like in the case of One Punch Man. I mean when a series really drops the balls to the point that you can kinda still recognize it as the same show, but also something terribly wrong has happened to make it much worse. Shit like the second season of 13 Reasons Why or The Walking Dead, where characters take a nosedive into making stupid decisions
I never seen 13 Reasons Why. What is that show about?
and having out-of-place scenes that feel completely different. In fact, something you might notice about my two examples is that they not only started getting bad after they deviated from the source material they were based on, but also after they stopped implementing the original concepts they previously used to good effect. The Walking Dead in particular had a great season 1 with original shit in it that actually expanded on the world.
Ah, you know she's a zombie. Hello, I am a zombie. I would like to order a Big Mac and a Dr. Pepper, please.
And did something for the characters. And that just goes to show how if you want to make a good sequel season to a liked adaptation, you not only need to continue using the same source material, but try to keep up with the quality standards set before it. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you to the anime series known as Terraformers. Being a series I only happened to start watching by pure chance, I came to seriously enjoy the original Terraformers series, and found it underrated when realizing almost no one seemed to talk about it. Basically, sometime in the distant future,
Never seen Terraformers because I have a bedbug problem. I don't want to watch no anime about bugs.
virus is going around that no one really has the tech or medicine to fix, so it's almost a guarantee that you're gonna die if you get it. And the only way to find a cure is to get samples from its place of origin, Mars. There's just one small problem with that, or rather a large hulking muscular problem. These gigantic monstrosities are what is known as terraformers, cockroaches sent along with plants to Mars hundreds of years ago to try to get it ready for human travel, making sure things could live there. Unfortunately, they evolved a little too much in that time, turning into these incredibly strong behemoths with two goals in mind: get more advanced, and kill any human they see. They're so strong that the only way to combat them is by
The heck, they have muscles? Imagine a bed bug, size of a man, a giant bed bug. I gotta tell you, I had a bed bug once on my pants. I wear black pants, so you couldn't really tell. But I noticed I had a bed bug, and boy, was I embarrassed. That's crazy. It was in the bus, but nobody noticed. I don't think. Uh, I hope nobody noticed. Just me. Now I'm embarrassed.
having people inject a formula to gain the abilities of other bugs, creating some interesting fighting scenarios. Now, just a small side tangent, I should also address the elephant in the room. Some people have misconstrued the Terraformers as racist depictions of black men, and yeah, I see where they're coming from, but don't worry, it actually has a more simple origin, being based off of Homo erectus, one of the earliest humans. Just a case of Japan being, a little tone deaf, a bit blissfully ignorant to some potential implications here. The almost human appearance
My goodness, it's LeBron James.
of the cockroaches is clearly intentional to show how they've evolved, however, and it does add to their intimidating, eerie presence. It's a kind of uncanny valley that really works for the show's atmosphere, and hypes up why the space crew, composed of people from around the world, should be afraid. These things are strong enough to rip someone's spinal cord out of their head, their speed is on a completely different level, and if they get to you before transforming, yeah, sorry dude, you're pretty much fucked. Beyond physical strength though, these guys are also actually much smarter than you'd think. They aren't just killing humans because they need food or some shit. The Terraformers are intentionally targeting the humans because they see them as an infestation to be cleansed, like how we deal with regular cockroaches on Earth. Since a previous crew before them also came to Mars, the roaches have foresight, and when killing a transformed person, they keep the body to modify and give to their own soldiers. That's one of the things that makes the Terraformers different from your average run-of-the-mill monsters. The humans are continually tripped up in the story because the roaches keep surprising them with
Wouldn't it be smart if a roach impregnated a human? Come on, man. That's pretty smart.
How intelligent they are. As antagonists, they make for an interesting foe and constantly keep the cast on their toes throughout the story, leaving almost no room for a dull moment. The constant violence and exceeding gore actually leads into one of the many themes of the show, that being that no one is truly safe at any time during the story. Unlike most linear series, Terraformers doesn't necessarily have a main character. It has people that are considered more important to the plot, those being Michelle and Akari, but each branch of the world is given characterization and time to shine on their own, which makes it even more heartbreaking when you see them die, adding to the show's uniqueness in the process. It shows that yeah, plenty of good characters exist in the story that have reasons for volunteering to go on the trip, but anyone could be killed at any time. This show does not respect whatever best girl you might end up attached to. Plenty of the most relatable characters will die the most horrific
No, what does he have in his hands? Mercy.
death you could imagine, and unless their ability is tailor-made to regeneration, they're never coming back. That factor helps a ton in building suspense in almost every scene, battle or not, because the terraformers are everywhere, so moments of downtime are almost non-existent, highly contrasting the first few episodes that sort of build up hope that the crew could succeed before taking that away, helping us get into the mindset of the characters. Another benefit from having so many different perspectives is that each fight the teams have to deal with will expand upon the lore of the cockroaches while giving character development for the fighters. One of my favorite fights in that regard has to do with the character Marcos, who's just unexpectedly lost a friend to one of the roaches. To give some context, the character who died, Sheila, was given time beforehand to establish her caring personality and relationship to Marcos and the others, endearing us to her when she tries to say she loves the captain with some Japanese she learned but is unable to before death. Marcos then explodes and attacks the roaches while remembering his long past with Sheila, showing us more of the character and helping the audience feel his pain as he kills roach after roach in gory action. The death affects Marcos to such a degree that he can only think about how he was unable to protect her, something he tried so desperately to do in the past. So by remembering while he fights, the two
Damn, that's crazy.
contrasting scenes fit seamlessly in the narrative and develop both characters we've come to like, even after one has died. These deaths aren't meaningless either. Despite spending so much time on other characters with equally as tragic circumstances, Marco
No, LeBron James, no. Oh, LeBron James. Oh, he's gone.
is still given time to show how the death changed him mentally and what it will take to bring him back. And those kind of story beats are interspersed with new knowledge about the roaches, their culture, and the overwhelming mystery of what they're planning to do. Of course, all of this is well executed on its own, but what makes it all the more memorable has to be everything relating to the adaptation aspect, that being the visuals, editing, and music. Getting specific, the series was adapted as one of the first solo ventures for the studio Leiden Films, who you might know currently as the guys behind Tokyo Revengers. But if you had asked me without any
Holy crap. These have to be fake. If they're real, that's pretty good.
prior knowledge of the studio, I'd have no idea this was a starting point for the company. The animation isn't always amazing, some scenes can be a little bit less fluid than others, but in terms of consistency, the appeal of the show's art style, shading, ease of which to follow what's going on, and creativity are all there throughout the series and contribute plenty to the show's overall style. The color palette especially contains shades that aren't too dull to where it becomes uninteresting, but unsaturated enough to help identify the bleak setting and realistic situation while still showing the beauty of Mars to contrast it. Sometimes the show does just look outright beautiful and impressive though, such as during Adolf's fight or the battle around fire at the end of the season. It plays with the lighting really well to create some memorable aesthetics. The editing also gives any scene sort of a cinematic quality, with smooth transitions, emphasis on the impact of hits or surprise of the characters, fast motions conveyed in black and white or minimal color, changes in mood using color shifts and B footage, or on occasion having movements implied by showing how their bug counterpart would move. It covers any potentially lackluster scenes and grants a style that makes you feel the impact and weight of each attack, builds intimidation and suspense, and constantly keeps you on your toes by implementing new techniques on occasion that still fit with the overall look. I haven't even mentioned the wonderful soundtrack. The OST in Terraformers is so unique and fitting that I can instantly recognize it if I ever hear it playing. Every song helps elevate the emotions and action higher, and in Adolf's fight especially, I think it's brilliantly used to make my favorite scene in the entire season. I'm mentioning all of this to not only show you just how great I think the first season is in all of its subtleties and more major elements, but also because almost every aspect and quality I've mentioned from the first season is severely undermined.
Holy crap, she has, let's see, one eye, two eye, three eyes, so six eyes, seven, eight eyes. Yeah. Seems like she has 8 eyes.
changed or completely ruined in the follow-up season known as Terraformars Revenge. Created a little under 2 years after the original, Terraformars Revenge is a sequel season created once again with Light & Films in cooperation with a studio called TYO, an animation company that appears to have almost exclusively done slice of life anime before and after this. As far as I can tell, they haven't really done anything that much of note other than recently with some Digimon movie, and while I'm not generally the type of person to point the finger when a show goes from looking like this to this, and it changes after the addition of said studio,
Let's see. They all look like they're gonna die. They're all gonna die, bet.
I'm gonna have to say it's mainly their fault it looks this way. I'll get to the animation in a second, but if you want any more of a visual indicator as to how this season compares to that of the first, just look at it and think, okay, but what if this standard was applied to everything? Okay, to be fair, I'm exaggerating just a little bit, but shit has definitely taken a downward turn. The only aspect of the season where
Oh, they became friends with the roaches. Pretty cool.
I think there's possible improvement is the story. I say possibly because while the story of beat up aliens for samples, try not to die is simple, and I can sum up most of the first season that way, I do still like the simplicity it had in that regard. It isn't always necessary to have a complex.
Wait, roaches have wings? I didn't know that. Thank goodness bedbugs don't have wings. I have a bedbug problem, by the way. You probably heard. I said that a lot of times, but I do. There's a bunch of bedbugs around here.
Story to gain an enjoyable experience, and I think the first season more than made up for it with its character interactions and development through those fights. This season takes a different approach, and at the least I can respect that, focusing more on the mystery aspects set up in the first of what the roach civilization is like, who the traitor among the space crew is, and how the leaders of the world back on Earth are handling everything. It clearly goes for a more Attack on Titan Season 3-esque approach, where the humans become the greater enemy, with the monsters they're supposed to be fighting put a bit more in the background. The execution of everything done is still sloppy though. This isn't a slight to the original manga. I actually believe everything was balanced pretty well for the most part there, keeping a consistent tone, pace, and suspense despite the focus shifting from where it started. No. My big issue comes with the anime, mostly because they take scenes from the manga and appear to place them out of order from when they first appeared. Or they might just add more flashbacks. There are so many times where
Oh my goodness, he is dead. Oh well.
has flashbacks to thinking about the kid he wants to save, Sakurato, which just doesn't happen in the manga. He definitely does think of it on occasion within the story, but it's just goddamn excessive at this point, and comes off annoying. Sometimes the anime will just completely skip over scenes in the manga and show them in flashbacks at random points later on.
You could say she's horny.
Instead. For instance, in episode 8, the gang runs into a swarm of terraformers, and the character Alex tries to save a girl named Yaiko from being killed before being saved by a guy named Joseph, but in between that, they show a scene where Yaiko consoles Alex. Not only does it break up the flow of the action and take several minutes, but as far as the manga timeline goes, the event actually occurs 30 whole chapters before this. They could have easily shown it in the first episode of the second season, an episode I want to put some specific spotlight on later, but they just don't. Whenever the writers take this tactic to the storytelling, it really does just feel like they completely forgot the scene and added it in at the last moment where it would work much less. The ending of the second season basically does this, but in reverse, sharing a spoiler for the manga that should have come around 50 chapters after when it's being shown here. I won't show it to you out of respect because I want you to read the manga, but after doing that, look back on the series and you'll know exactly what I mean. The twist is so much less effective and doesn't quite make sense with what the characters know at the time. Speaking of being less effective, let's talk about the first episode, because the impression it left on the rest of the season in theming and general atmosphere has to be one of the worst I've seen in a long time. First, I should mention it's basically a filler episode to reintroduce everything, so yeah, the scene I mentioned could have very well been put into the first.
I am crying. Please consult me. Oh, I'm crying.
Episode, but they just chose not to in favor of other shit. It also means the writers were left to their own devices with these characters to make the best possible anime original episode before getting back to the manga canon. And did they do it well? Kill me. Where to even start with everything wrong with this episode? The tone, for one thing, is just completely ruined. The tension feels almost non-existent for a majority of it. Like, this is just another day, you know, being swarmed by the roaches. No big deal. Not like anyone could die. And how about after that initial fight, everyone lazes around and chills talking about tits and ass? Yeah, I don't know how they did it, but the writers forced in a fucking shower dream sequence in Terraformers. The only time I remember
Okay, that's crazy. Roaches are dreaming about women. It's pretty cool.
Shower being important was near the beginning when Akari tried to get a peek and ended up seeing this. A scene where the characters gawk around seeing the girls naked isn't in line with the series at all and almost feels like it's from a different genre entirely. Later in the episode, Akari even gets a weird, out-of-nowhere bullshit power-up in a fight with a big roach because he's fighting for Sakurato, I guess? Like, what the fuck is going on? This power-up never existed in the series beforehand.
Wait, humans become roaches too? Dang, he has horns now. He's half roach. Come on, Roach, you could beat the human.
And doesn't even continue being used within the second season afterwards. It was exclusively put in the first episode, which is also filler, and nowhere else without any explanation. If these attempts to make a seinen thriller feel more like a shonen battle manga weren't apparent enough, they even give the characters those little chibi speech bubbles. You know what I'm fucking talking about. What quicker way to remove suspense in any given scene than to randomly show a cutesy version of the character for comic relief? Once again, I must repeat, in Terraformers. The characters in this episode are also completely out of it. Akari is fighting because apparently Michelle told him she'd let him cop a feel with her. Two lines of action neither character would take whatsoever if you knew the slightest bit about them. You want to see a good example of their relationship in the series? Pause this video for a second and look at this image. It's more subtle and doesn't sound like it came straight from a mid-2000s harem anime. And you see, the reason I'm pointing all this out is that a lot of what I mentioned isn't even in the rest of the series. The character butchering, the out-of-nowhere power-ups, the bath scenes, etc. It's all concentrated into this one episode and
crazy.
And a bit of the second. Basically, it left the worst first impression a show could probably do by promising a specific brand of shit and then not even living up to that. Though we do still get the chibi speech bubbles because, why the hell not? Since now we've gotten the first horrendous episode with its specific problems out of the way, let's move on to the biggest general issue with the show. I've held it off for long enough. Time to talk about the visuals. Where do I even begin with everything completely wrong about how all of this looks? Okay, first, the colors. What is going on with the palette for this season? It's all saturated and bright. Nothing feels completely down to earth or realistic. You can feel the tension easing away. There aren't any subtle tones, distinct flair, or anything. It's the most basic color set I've seen in a while, and when they try to do lighting, oh, don't even get me started.
Wait, people are now insects too? So Terraformers has people as insects? What's going on?
Why does the glowing look so unnatural here? Probably because they're using an effect that makes the rest of the shit around it look like it comes from a different layer. When the original series does lighting and unique shots to portray intense emotion or whatnot, it looks nice. This looks like ice. As in, please, ice me right the fuck now, this hurts! The same sort of problem goes for the animal attachments for each character. In the first season in manga, they're able to make the transformations look like a natural extension of the body. But for some characters here, it just looks like a parasite has latched onto them or they're wearing a costume. There's almost nothing realistic looking about it anymore, and it becomes all the more evident when you just compare character transformations from season 1 and this. Speaking of characters, besides the main cast, who have lost most of their detail and fluidity, the Terraformers look way worse for a couple different reasons. The first I can think of is basic shading. The Terraformers require a lot of detail in order to get their look right. They need to be solid, tall, with super defined muscles and weighty movements. The same kind of detail needs to be applied to their faces to perfect their uncanny, iconic look. But, and hear me out here, what if they didn't give a single shit? The fight scenes with the Terraformers look awful, almost all of them. There's no one fight I can point to and say, yeah, that looks good, you did a good job. At best I could point at 1 or 2 decent looking shots, but that's it. Not one of the fights has good sakuga, good impact, fluidity, or anything. Well, technically it does have some fluidity.
Whoa, this one really looks crazy. This is a really crazy one.
Places, but the Terraformers look like they're made of goddamn gelatin when they do, and it doesn't look realistic or well detailed at all. Their torsos specifically seem to always have problems looking way too long, like they're big walking accordions. There's also this character I mentioned before, Joseph, who mostly walks around without a shirt on, and dear god. The only thing I can say is that this is way more terrifying than the Terraformers could ever be, for fuck's sake. The only time the Terraformers ever look like they're completely on model is when they're using the same bad CG model, and I'll be the first to say that the first season used CG CG as well. I'm not faulting the season on that alone. I'm faulting the season for how badly it's implemented. In the first season of Terraformers, you could tell the staff tried to make it less noticeable whenever CG was used, such as having it be in a dark setting, blurred out from far away, in really short, almost unnoticeable shots. You could tell they didn't want you to think too much about it because it could suck you out of the world. Terraformars Revenge has no idea how to implement that kind of stylistic concept, and so they don't even try. Most of the time, the roaches in large herds are full of CG, out in the daylight, easy to see, and hold lingering shots for long amounts of time. It's almost like they're proud of their own shit. I guess in comparison to the terrible 2D fight choreography most of them have, it's a bit of an improvement, but it's still not good. It should also go without saying that the CG sticks out heavily among the poorly shaded humans and other terraformers, so seeing it really
Wait, cockroaches have teeth? I didn't know that.
does bring you out of the experience to question why it looks so different. Not that it's the only thing that takes you out of the experience, let me tell you what. Another aspect that takes away from the fight scenes and overall appeal of the show in general is the stylization. That style is all lost here. They don't even have some of the quirky shit Season 1 tried, like all black and white impacts, smooth transitions, and the gore? In a science and action series like Terraformers, other than the action, which has already taken a massive gut blow this season, the extreme gore is one of its major appeals. And even if the animation isn't great, you can still put some good detail into the carnage these battles create. Season 1 had this down packed. In fact, they did it so well that for TV broadcast in Japan, they censored the shit out of it, and yeah, it's bad. But in the end, for the glory of the uncensored version, you might have to make that kind of sacrifice at the start. It's still annoying though, so while I fundamentally disagree with it, turning down the violence a little can at least be understandable because you want to show everything to Japanese audiences on TV. They just so happen to turn it down way too fucking much. Human deaths are much less gruesome than they were in Season 1, and the roaches have it even worse. There's just something about how the
Yeah, she's gonna die.
gore of the roaches is handled that doesn't sit right with me. Like, for example, how they get blown up. In Season 2, it's like they phase out of existence. There's no gore, barely any carnage whatsoever. Go back to Season 1, and holy shit, that looks so much better, realistic, and powerful. You can feel that shit as it blows to bits. There's not that attention to detail in how the terraformers are taken care of here. When a body part gets chopped off or it's cut in two, it looks like a cartoon, when you should be able to see every detail of its insides as it's sliced in two. Clarity might not seem so great on the surface, but it adds a ton in the long run, and it's severely missing from the second season. Last thing I want to talk about in terms of how badly the series fucks up is the music. I love the original OST. It's great, it's iconic, it's got a wide range, excellent. Why they chose not to use it almost at all in favor of a new soundtrack is beyond me. They literally took something that wasn't broken and broke it themselves. The one area where they literally wouldn't have to change anything, and they did so anyway. It's ass backwards and doesn't make any sense. Equally speaking, the sound effects didn't need much changing, but now for most impacts they have this one sound effect that doesn't work most of the time because it seems like it's meant to be used for
He's dead.
when someone is absolutely annihilating their targets, but the effect is used a ton on punches or impacts big and small, and so as you can guess, I don't think it's used well. I guess that's how you could say I feel about the entire season. They had the manga sources as a blueprint, they went off script, back on script, shuffled the pages of the script so it made less narrative sense, and added useless shit to the script that wasn't needed in the first place. They took a tone they already established, ruined it, tried to build it back up but most of the time failed, made bad color changes, made everything more cartoony from impacts to sound so they couldn't even get a chance to re-establish the serious side well, and created new bits from straight out of a different genre. I can't even say anything in terms of the animation other than, they fucked it up. That's the best descriptor. In the end, there is still a small part of me that wants
What the heck? Is this a JoJo character? I never seen JoJo, but JoJo Bizarre Adventure, by the way.
to like bits of it because it does still have Terraformers in there. A story with characters I quite enjoy and want to see, but it's executed so poorly that there's basically no point when I can just read the manga instead and have a better experience. I mean, unless I'm looking to laugh my ass off, but probably not for the reasons the show wants me to. Watch at your own discretion if you think you have to, but if you want a genuinely better time, read the manga. And remember, whenever you see a bad sequel season, at least it isn't Terraformars Revenge. I've been Just Up, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Alright, that was the Terraformers Revenge, How to Ruin a Series. Until we meet again, my fellow strugglers.